What's going on, people? It's Thursday, the 12th of May. Cheers. Well, typical Midwest, but also typical of climate change times. The weather changed just like that. It went from kind of cool to hot, just like that in a day. So, no sweater anymore. And in a little bit, I'll have to be putting in the window unit air conditioner, which I don't particularly like to use, but it's really a matter of survival, isn't it? So, in lieu of feeling like making videos the last couple of days, I went ahead and uploaded some memories, and I've shared with you before, but one of the bands that I was in, and if they ever get back together, I'll probably be in it again, is the band Sun Ambulance. Some of you folks might be familiar with the band. They did this split LP with Bright Eyes. And Sun Ambulance is a play on the word somnambulance. Somnambulance. You know, walking in your sleep. And you need to kind of just tell the story if I can. So, here in Nebraska and Omaha, my band Digital Sex, which I started in the early 80s, is regarded as one of the forerunners of indie music in Nebraska being taken seriously. Some of the other early players besides Digital Sex were people like Matthew Sweet, Charlie Burton, and Crap Detectors, and other bands who I actually don't know to tell you. But when Saddle Creek Records came along in the 90s with their really unexpected success with Bright Eyes, I felt a connection to it. I felt like I had helped to kind of lay the groundwork for folks from Nebraska to be listened to more, taken seriously. That's what people were telling me back in the day when Digital Sex was going, and I was playing with a bunch of other bands at the same time. That we were one of the bands that people started to notice outside of the state. Anyway, that's when Saddle Creek Records was Bright Eyes, and then also Sun Ambulance, Joe Knapp. When they started to pop, I really felt a connection, felt like, man, I wanted to be a part, I wish I could be a part of it. Felt like I was in some ways. So, I was already a fan of the band. This is their album, Euphemystic. And even had Joe sign it for me. This is before I was in the band. This has a great song on it. I personally, no, I don't personally think, well, I do, but I think it's pretty objective. Joe Knapp of Sun Ambulance is quite a songwriter. As much the match of a songwriter as Conor Oberst, Bright Eyes. Maybe even better. But there's a song on here, A Book Laid on Its Binding is on here, and that's one of my favorite songs. When I finally got to play it with Joe, it was kind of a big deal for me. We didn't play it the way they recorded it because Joe is not a traditional musician, which was frustrating to play in the band Sun Ambulance, but also what I liked. It's what I like. I'm not a careerist looking for people who are really ambitious and want to make it. I've always been more interested in the experience of doing music and playing music and everything that goes with it. So when Joe got Saddle Creek Records to put out this third album of his. I think this is his third album. Someone Else's Deja Vu. This was like 2007. I got a call from Joe. I didn't know him well, but knew people that we knew people in common. And he got a hold of me saying that they were getting ready to go on tour and needed a bass player. Would I be interested? And I said, I'm interested, but tell me this. Is the new record done yet? Can I get on it? Can I play on the record? That would make so much more sense to me. It would mean a lot more to me if I could play on the record. So I got on the album. My part is you can barely hear me on the record. Working with Joe has been a real trip. Joe is not a careerist, and he's a brilliant person. Like a lot of very talented people, he's got issues, okay? And so you see his brilliant talent, and you'll be thinking, oh, he should do this, or he's going that direction, and he goes the complete opposite direction. So anyway, I got on the album, and I went out on tour with them 3 or 4 times, 3 for sure. Several around the United States and 1 to Europe. So the videos that I shared yesterday are from the European jaunt in 2009. And the video where the band is in this clothing shop where I put on the pink wig and the rest of the band. That was part of the press junket. Like when we went over to Europe, we did a typical independent level band tour that was managed and sponsored by the label. So not only did it involve playing the shows, but it also involved press and doing things with the press. So the thing with the hat store or the clothing store was set up while we were playing in Vienna, Austria, to do this. We did a couple things in Vienna, and that one was worth showing. The other one didn't turn out so well. Joe, if you see this, I'm just telling the truth. People who, there's been a lot of members in the band Sun Ambulance, and folks who worked with Joe know that it could be difficult and that he had issues. And, he basically had a nervous breakdown while we were in Europe. And so some things just didn't turn out so well. Some of the performances I am not so happy with because the band wasn't really firing on all fours. But the other clip, so the song Meine kleine Hund, my little dog, had to do with a kind of a joke that started because one of the other mainstays of Sun Ambulance band, almost from the beginning, besides Joe and his brother Dan Knapp, is their cousin Dylan Strimple, who it turned out I was connected to through Dylan's dad. Dylan's dad was one of the people who trained me when I was just a senior in high school, volunteering at the Runaway Center, which led to them hiring me and consequently all of my years in mental health. That was Dylan's dad, was one of the guys who trained me and took me through a couple of really significant learning experiences where we had to deal with some serious shit, danger in the house, and following Dylan's dad's lead, we handled some real dangerous shit safely. Anyway, the kind of a running joke during the tour was that Dylan was trying to teach himself how to speak German, because a big part of our tour was in Germany. And so he had come up with this little song about his dog to, I guess, practice words. And we ended up making kind of a jokey little song out of it, and then we actually played it on stage in Salzburg, Austria. But we decided to do that for the Playground promo video rather than one of the songs on the album. And that was fun. I really enjoyed the European tour quite a bit. Real learning experience too, you know. Joe had some difficult times with being on stage, you know, and being in the spotlight. And there were times when I had to take things over to get us through the night. It was trial by fire. And then the other clip, like that you see, we're playing at this well-known place in Salzburg, Austria, the Rock House, home of Mozart. And you bet I visited the museum that is Mozart's birthplace. I did visit it while I was there. I loved the experience of Europe, and yeah, I'd play there again. It is much different than playing in America. And I've played all over the United States, all over, both coasts, down south, throughout the Midwest, upwards toward Canada, Europe, and I played in Japan too. Europe and Japan are wonderful. So that's what that was about. I'm glad I could share it with you. And yeah, the experience of being in Somnambulance was unique. You know, it got to a point where Joe just said, you know, I really don't want to be in a band. This happened because I liked writing songs and then kind of getting together with friends just to play music. The last experience I had with Joe and the band was that, where Joe didn't want to prepare for any shows. He just wanted to goof around with a new song idea. So I got to experience that with Joe, and then he completely lost interest, and he's a chess champion. He's really good at chess, so that's what he's doing primarily now. So that's what that was about, people. I needed a break from videos. I have received some new music from Discus Music. Not ready to review. I do like them both, but not ready to review them. Okay. Man, it's warm already, and it's only 8:30 in the morning. Some stuff that I played last night, though, I'll show, because I know you like the music. Schneider TM, German electronic artist. Saw them, excuse me. I am so sorry, people. I know some of y'all can't hang, but ain't nothing I can do about it. Saw them when they were on tour with The Faint, and they opened for The Faint, a show in Omaha, I think 2002. They were really good. I like The Faint too, and these guys, in a way, were kind of better than The Faint. So I grabbed these two singles that they had on sale and had them signed. Reality Check and Frogtoise. Let me get this right now. Polish band, SBB. The leader of the band, Joseph Skrzek, passed away not too long ago. This is very, very good. I can't pronounce the title. Jazz rock band in the very much influenced by John McLaughlin Mahavishnu Orchestra. Very good players, but it also gets symphonic. Real good writing and playing. Specifically, the writing is very good on this. Yeah, I hit a prog bug for a second, so I was listening to Atila, this Italian band, Intencion. I think this is their second album. And they do toccata and fugue to start off one side, but they follow it up, and it's not corny. It's good. Good playing. Good progressive, classically based Italian rock. Hadn't played this in a long time. This holds up. Great production, great songwriting, great playing. Scritti Politti from the album Cupid and Psyche, 69 or whatever that name. I still have the album. But this single, The Word Girl, great song. And the version with the ranking Ann with her her spoken part is really makes it. It's really good. And then I grabbed this because it was next to it. Hadn't played this forever. Forgot this album completely. Songs to Remember by Scritti Politti. You know, they started out as a completely independent kind of political band. I have those records too. This is when they're moving more into pop, trying to mess with R&B and reggae. Really not very well on this album, but The Sweetest Girl is the song, and Jacques Derrida. Those are the songs that saved this album. A couple nights ago, got into some Paul Bley and Scorpio. This is one in his electronic period, where he's using synthesizers and the electric piano. If you don't know Paul Bley, but you like jazz, I don't know what that's about. You gotta, Paul Bley, giant. He's like a Bill Evans, but he doesn't sound like Bill Evans, but it's like he had that kind of that subtle, not overstated, but it's like every note he played really counted. Excellent. And Carla Bley, his ex-wife, it was her birthday yesterday. I think she turned 84. Pulled and play this, Finnforest from Finland, Demon Nights. I think this was their last album. Compared to their first two albums, this one is the writing is a bummer on this album. The playing is pretty good, but the compositions on here, for the most part, are very lackluster, especially compared to their debut album, Finnforest. Every song on that album is killer. Fusion, killer. So that's a letdown. Earthstar, another album that's related to Klaus Schultze. I think that Klaus Schultze helped to record this. Somehow he's involved with this, if I'm not mistaken. Produced by Klaus Schultze. So it's that sequential, bubbling synthesizer stuff. This is pretty good. It gets into the French Skyline suite with voices and a big kind of monumental feel, epic. It's good. Along the same lines, the last thing I think new thing to show you. Yeah, well, actually I got one. Yeah, a couple more. Tim Blake was in Gong, the synthesizer master. Crystal Machine, great album. The only thing that's kind of aged on here are some of the vocals, but the synthesizer work in here is stellar. Excellent. I thought to myself, you know, I have Bonzo Dog Band, but when do I ever play them? Man, this was a great trip to play the other day. The Doughnut in Granny's Greenhouse. We Are Normal. I remember when they used to play that on underground radio, and it always caught my attention because it's so unstructured. Really cool. And most of this album is really good. Is Urban Spaceman on here? Humanoid Boogie is on here. This is just fun stuff. Really funny. Good stuff. You know the Bonzo Dog Band, right? Vivian Stanshall and those guys. The first guitar player was Return to Forever, Bill Connors. His one of his solo albums he made for ECM, Theme to the Gaurdian. Just like the cover. Really serene, calming, wonderful album. This is just really, really good. Really good. And if you see this, the fellow that sends me this stuff, really enjoyed this the other day. Pulled this Brian Conniffe, Suzanne Walsh, and Diarmuid MacDiarmada. It sort of reminded me of Coil with female vocals. Really enjoyed it. I can't describe it as I'm trying to think back what I heard, but I can't. One more. This was a real hit and miss, this album. I love George Clinton. This particular album is about a third good. The Cinderella Theory. When he got hooked up with Prince and was on Paisley Park. So there's some good tracks on here, and then there's other tracks where it's like, well, hell, we're in the studio, we'll just do this. That's what it sounds like. They're just kind of gooping. There's some music for you, and there's the story about Sun Ambulance. Also, that song Horizons that we play live is on this album. This is a very good album and one of the best albums on Saddle Creek label. Not because I'm on it, but because it is. It's really psychedelic, too, in a lot of places. Okay, I got to turn some fans on, and I might just have to put that air conditioner in today.